Hey everyone, welcome to the Permission to Play podcast. Say hi everyone.
Hi everyone.
Yay. Okay, we're a collective of creatives who will be talking about issues and topics related to creativity through the lens of being a creative and leaving room for anything else that may come up, and with the occasional guest hanging out with us. The idea is to bring real stuff we all see and experience to light, to examine them, relate to them, but also to keep a sense of play and perspective, not only within the group, but to encourage that within your lives as listeners. So let's get started with some introductions, but we're going to do it a little bit different because I'm going to throw a topic on the table to play with. See what I did there? And we'll just go around, talking about ourselves, but I'll go first since I'm already talking. So I'm Christina Barcy. And the topic is second lives. And what do I mean by that? So I love this idea of pivoting that happens in business. That's what they call it, which is when you strategize your plan, you put everything in place to achieve the outcome you're going for, to get your goal, but then something happens that throws the whole thing off. Like your outcome or an aspect of the business is scaling much better than the area you were hoping for. And that causes you to make a choice. So you can either keep beating the dead horse and struggle to stick to your plan, even though it is no longer proving to be viable, or you can pivot and funnel everything you've created and learned into the area that is unexpectedly doing well or shows more promise. And we do that in our lives as artists. We change route, we reinvent ourselves over and over again, and it's very far from a linear experience. So my experience with that would be, so going back to my first dream that I pursued, which was acting. I love acting, but what I did not love was how the business of Hollywood was presented to me, how I was told and taught to go about pursuing it. So much so that it caused me to step away, reevaluate what it is exactly that I want from this career, from my art, from myself, from my entire life. And that's how I started delving into writing and creating my own projects and characters I wanted to play. That's also how I got into podcasting, which then led me into producing a film about the whole process. It led me to creativity coaching, and now to starting a business to do more of all of these things, which is to create platforms through podcasting for people to be inspired creatively, consciously, to speak their truth, mine included. And that is my second life. So I'm very excited for this next chapter. And that's me. I'm Christina Barcy. And who else wants to go next?
Oh, well, I'll jump on that train right away. Hippie, hi, my name is Lloyd Robertson II. And this idea of a second life is very interesting to me, because for me, what it meant when somebody says that is the absence of time. And that's how something like that was portrayed in my life, with the pressures that time I felt was putting on me, to get things done, to achieve goals that I had, to achieve dreams that I had. And for me, that was putting unnecessary strain, emotionally, on myself, on my relationships, because time presented a barrier about something that really transcends all of what we're doing in this reality. And that for me was trying to live my life and be happy with the dreams and goals that I've set for myself. And time wasn't allowing me to do that. I was moving towards my dreams, but I wasn't happy. And so at some point I came across this epiphany where time to me should not exist. In that retrospect, dealing with time, dealing with dreams and goals. And I do think that you need to have goals set and meet tiny goals, but what you don't need to do is have time put you down and continually press you to believe that you aren't good enough, you're not moving fast enough, you're not being able to get into the position that you need to be in order to catapult yourself because you're too old, or you didn't act fast enough on this certain thing, or blah, 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 many examples. And so once I decided to not have time be the thing that drove me, it opened up a whole new world of happiness for me. And I've been able to hit, still put a fire under my ass and still achieve things, but I do it happy, as opposed to wanting the next thing and not really being present in the thing that's happening in the moment. I'm Lloyd Robertson. I
No. Thank you. That's awesome. I would love to talk more about time at some point, because I think that's so important, and how people use that to not as an excuse to not do things. Moving on, Kyle or Yelpy, who wants to go next?
You go, Kyle.
Okay. Since Yelpy is drinking a good amount of water, very important for
Well
hydration.
timed.
Everyone.
That's vodka. Don't let them fool you. That ain't water.
From the mountains of Paris.
Yeah.
Beyond.
He's too fancy for us.
Depends who you talk to. My name is Kyle Delatorre. Talking
Hi,
about sex.
Kyle.
Hi, buddy. I came from a musical theater background, so I can completely relate to what you both are talking about. I thought I was lucky enough to know what I wanted to do when I was 14. I was very, very focused on that. So again, I was very lucky enough to have a certain passion, know what I wanted to do, went to college. Unfortunately, life absolutely gets in the way, and I got in the way of myself, and I got really, really sick. I just got really, really, really sick. It was very, very bad. I had a terrible, terrible eating disorder. If anybody that's ever been addicted to anything knows, you're checked out. For however long you have your addiction, you're just kind of not living life. You're just thinking about your addiction. So it's very much how I was. It was either, theater or, feeding into the disorder. So I got really, really sick. When I graduated, I got out and immediately just went into partial hospitalization and tried to get better. And anybody that has ever dealt with an eating disorder knows that you can want to get better, and it's just not your time. Sometimes you as a person have to grow to be able to heal yourself. So I thought that New York was probably not a good place for me to go after I got out of the center that I was at. And so I thought LA was a way more healthy environment. I thought the film industry would surely be just nurturing and loving, and I had, all this training, so I could figure it out. It was a disaster. I'm not made for film. Just not. I was not good. It did not feed my soul. It was really bad, and I was just trying to just fit into this mold that wasn't meant for. So I decided I'm going to completely switch careers, and I want to do something for myself that's more academic. I want to throw away the arts. Like, I was just at that point where I just want to kind of throw it all away and find out who I was as a person without the artist part. And 4 years later, just life took over again, and I had several people just pass away within a year, and it was just really hard. Some of them were just very senseless, and they were very young, and it really just was kind of a life wake-up call, like a lot of people get, where it's, wow, this is really reality. You don't know how much time you're going to get. There's no guarantee for anyone. And so kind of, what do I want to do with the time I have here? Like, what would make me happy? And music has always made me really happy, and I had gotten back into it. And it was just like, wow, I could really just obsessively live in music all day. I love it so much. And then I thought, why don't I just try to learn however much I can, and that'll be it. And then it just was like, I'm always going to be an addict. Music is now my addiction. So it's the healthiest addiction I've ever had. I'm just going to keep going on that train forever. And it serves me very well. And I'm lucky enough now to pursue I have a day job that feeds into living into music. So I personally think I'm one of the more fortunate, lucky, and yeah, that's the word that comes to me. Fortunate to be able to do what I love to do just on a daily basis and really just get to live into it. So that's kind of where I am on my journey now. Lloyd, completely identify with you with I'm how old and I'm just starting out, and who, like, these kids have been doing it since they were 12, and you know, how am I ever going to do this? But I mean, I'm sure we'll get into this. It just doesn't matter. Like, it just doesn't matter. Like, it's whatever makes you happy. And I don't have to, you know, get to anywhere. I just want to make music. And I really, really mean that. If I can make music, I'm happy. So,
Yay.
More lives for everybody. Everybody gets lives. You get a life.
You get alive. You get alive.
You get a second life. You get a third life.
yeah.
Let's do this.
Yeah.
So, yeah, thanks for listening.
Thanks, Kyle.
Yeah, that's very interesting, and it's really cool, and it's extremely strong of you to come from such a dark place and really still find light in the world. You know, it's a very hard thing.
I'm
I commend
very
you for that.
fortunate. No, I'm fortunate. I had a community around me that were just good people, and I have a husband that is truly like the best individual. And so I was very fortunate. But thank you. I appreciate that, Lloyd. Thank you. Everybody get better. Addiction sucks.
Yeah, it's a process. I guess that's my whole purpose behind this podcast is I want people to see that life's a process, creativity is a process, everything, it's a discipline, and and you can learn. Once you learn that shit, that's how you find happy. It's not something outside of yourself. It's learning how to fall in love with the process. It's learning how to, you know, understand what your discipline looks like with what you've been given. And that's how, and you get to define what happy means. And I think that's a huge part of what I want this to be, is like understanding what definitions of happy are, and that it's not something that you go searching for, that you find somewhere. You have it. It's accessible to you.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's so cool. You guys touched on that already. Okay, Yelpy, tell us about your lives.
First, did you just splash something on your face?
Oh, I sure did. I'm glad. I could really hope you edit that one out, because just right when you're like so deep and like just learning everybody,
I just saw him go.
water all on my face.
Yeah,
I'm
so
not a mug drinker, but I
Called out.
You can't call me out.
Called out.
So yeah, I'm a Yelpy, and yeah, like Kyle, actually, I think I'm quite fortunate. Actually, unlike Kyle, I don't have a husband, but yeah, I think I'm probably on my third life, actually, now that I think about it. So when I was 14, like Kyle, my dad bought me a guitar, and I had no interest in music before he bought that guitar. And yeah, I just started playing guitar, and then all of a sudden music was the only thing I did. And I was in a band for years, and we did all right. And then, yeah, we had a few songs on the radio and whatnot, and then the band broke up, and then I kind of was like, oh, I could do anything I wanted now. And my sisters and my mother, they always did acting and singing and all that kind of stuff. And I had never tried acting, so I was like, oh, I could try acting for a laugh, you know. So I figured I'd go and move to LA and do acting for like a year or something and see how that went. And then, yeah, I went to LA, and I was like, terrible acting and did not like it at all. Well, I liked it. I just didn't like the whole, like, I liked acting with people. I just didn't like anything else. I didn't like auditions and all that hullabaloo stuff, you know, all that crap, headshots and all that stuff. Yeah, so then while I was doing acting here, I started playing gigs on my own in just little bars in Hollywood. And then I don't know, then one of my friends, my manager, saw me, and she was like, oh, you should do that. So then I just started doing solo stuff, and now I'm releasing my third single. So yeah, lucky, just kind of a.
I love how it brought you back, right? You know, it's something that we haven't even touched on yet, but the idea of you can come from whence you came, or you can come back to whence you left. You know, it's
Yeah, I don't think I ever thought I
thing.
would stop doing music
Yeah.
ever. I was like literally just taking a break.
until you made a movie
Right, I was
and
like,
you made shit ton of money.
yeah. Yeah, as soon as I took the break, I was like, yeah, no, I just play music, I think. It's my thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's why we need to try different things as well. Like by you exploring like something else, by taking a break, I think we find what really matters. Like the other stuff gets to fall away, and we get to re-fall in love with that thing that that we that's a part of us, that we're, you know, it's okay to take a break. That's the other thing. It's like
Mm-hmm.
I used to beat myself up about, you know, like, why don't I want to, you know, we all have these, like for writers, it's writer's block. For, you know, whatever project you think you're supposed to be doing. As soon as you take out that supposed to be part, then you get to be other, you get to have all these other lives. You get to do these other things, and you get to learn from them, and then take what you learn and put them back into the other thing that you want to do. And I think that's such a cool permission to have.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like what you were saying. I don't, you know, I personally never ever put a time limit on anything, and I think when you do that, you feel very free to do. You know, if you don't have like some kind of limitation on yourself, you can, you know, take your time and do whatever it is you want to do. And if you want to take a break, if you want to go left instead of right, you know,
Mhm.
it's all really, it's open. I think it's when you put limitations on yourself, or you kind of try and fit yourself into some sort of box, that it gets really complicated.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think you're right. And I mean, I think people get confused between, like Lloyd, you kind of talked about this a little bit about limitations versus like goals, and setting up markers for yourself. I think it gets confusing for people when they're trying to create just goals or ways to like hit your mark in certain areas that you want to get to.
Mhm.
I think that sometimes we're like, we end up limiting ourselves by getting too hung up on all that stuff.
Yeah.
For me in acting, it was all that shit they tell you in the business. Like, you've got it, like, you know, Yelpy, I totally get why you were disenchanted so quickly by
Yeah.
it. Because it's like, wait a minute, I don't want to do all this stuff you're telling me to do.
Exactly, and I was only doing it for fun as well, so
Yeah.
it's not fun to me, you know.
Yeah. And so for some people it is. Some people are great at it. Some people just nail that stuff. And for me it was tough. I couldn't figure out what kind of headshot I was supposed to get, what kind of agent I was supposed to get, what my essence was. I would
What classes were going to help you move forward?
yeah, and like what I would get two different things. People were just like, "Oh, you're just like the smoldering sexy girl." But I'm like, "Am I though?" Like those roles suck. Like like those roles suck. And not only that, I would walk into the room and everyone would be like tall and blonde, and you know, and I was like, what the fuck am I doing here in this room? Like I'm the alternative, I'm the other.
Yeah, just in case
Yeah.
they, you know, they decided to go another way. Like you're
Yeah,
there.
and guess what? They never did.
No, they never did. Pretty stuck in their ways. I mean,
You were the amuse
Yeah.
bouche, Christina. You were the palette.
you're the palate cleanser.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, there's other beautiful women in the world who weren't blonde and
Yeah.
tall. But
You
no,
know,
that's okay. Bring us more blonde and tall.
Yeah, I think I went way off track too, where I was just like, I hate that. That's not fun. And so I went like total quirky for a while there, and that didn't work for me either, because that's not really, I'm not that naturally quirky girl either. Like I have more fun playing characters, but that wasn't my essence. So I was so confused. I was like, I don't know how to
Mhm.
make this work. And I think I was always trying to be something, because people were always telling me that I had to be something. I didn't realize I was already a person.
Or
That's
that
all I had.
sell yourself type thing, you know.
Yeah.
All I had to do was just be nothing. Just
I always
be,
hated the sell yourself thing, you know. Here it's like very
yeah.
I like, it's almost like sell yourself to me, and like I'm just so bad at that.
Yeah.
It's the
My
whole
favorite
thing, you know?
My favorite agent meeting was with, I forget who it is now. I should probably look it up. I can't remember. This is a long time ago, but he invited me in. He's like, we're just going to sit on this. We're just going to sit. We're just going to talk. And we couldn't stop talking. We just got along so well. And we talked for like an hour. and he didn't sign me because I had like no experience. I had a shitty resume, but that was like the best meeting I ever had, because he didn't want me to sell myself. He wasn't trying to get me to do anything that I wasn't already. And it was so nice. And I wish that Hollywood did more of that. But I will say that I think it's changing. And I'm probably going to talk about this more in our next topic. I do think it's changing that we have this digital platform now where people are encouraged to be transparent in themselves. And it's really nice. I think that's a really nice thing I'm discovering.
I had a similar experience to you, actually. I just while we're talking about it. So when I did that acting thing, one of the things I did acting in UCLA, you know, and so it was very good. Like everybody was very good, really good actors. But one of the classes was hosted by Pam Dixon, who is a big casting director, and she did loads of movies. Really nice girl. And in one of the classes, anyway. Now our class was full of really good actors who were in the business, like actually acting. And then there was me. And so anyway, and I'm not good at acting, but what she did is she did a general, which is basically she just has a meeting and you basically just talk, right? So she did it with every single actor. And then she did it also with me because I was in the class. And then and now I was good friends with a lot of my actor friends, and they were really good, and they've been in a lot of things. And then at the end of the class, she says, now, out of all the generals, the only one I'll remember is the one with Yelpy. And I was going like, why? I was like, why? And she's like, well, you're the only one who didn't talk like an actor, you know, and try and sell themselves. Because when we were talking, we were just talking about, well, she was saying that she actually, well, according to her, she's the one who found Colin Farrell. So she was talking to me about that. And I was like, chatting about Ireland and how I lived around the corner from him and all this kind of stuff, you know. And that's all we literally talked about. Whereas all the other people were all about, oh yeah, and I did this show and I did that show and I did that, which I had nothing to talk about. So I think it's funny because we actually had a proper conversation. That's the only reason she remembered. And to this day, she still emails me, like, so I still talk to her on emails and stuff. So
you probably want to keep that connection, Yelpy, just in case.
Yeah, it's funny actually when I watch a
Colin
movie
Farrell.
and her name is on the casting list.
Yeah.
I sometimes send her an email, and I go, "Oh, I just watched this movie." She goes, and then she sends a big long email back about her casting and what she did. It's really
That's
cool.
so interesting.
Yeah.
I was just have to say you are way sexier than Colin Farrell. Don't worry about it.
Yeah,
Don't
I mean
you
everybody
worry about it, Yelpy. Everybody knows this.
You're
This
just pointing out the obvious.
But it seems like people are actually craving just a genuine human experience now. And I mean, I don't know if anybody else can relate, but I've definitely gotten in the actor mindset where you understand the importance of who you're sitting across, and you understand that this is, you know, you put this pressure on yourself that I have to be memorable. I have to be something. I have to say something that's witty, but tells like the story of who I am and makes this person remember me. And by doing that, we just lose all of ourselves. It's just like people can smell can smell it coming into the room. So, and just as artists, like maybe this is different for everybody. Art is subjective, but the kind of art that it seems like people are really, really drawn into and have a connection with is genuine, and it's human, and it feels authentic. So it makes sense that somebody would remember you if you're just a normal person, especially in this town. So it's weird. It's a wonderful town.
It's kind of nice though, isn't it? It's kind of nice that, like for me, I had already decided that, you know, the acting thing wasn't for me, and I was very, same with music actually. I was very kind of jaded already about, you know, the networking thing and all that kind of crap. So when she said that to me, I was like, oh my God, that's really nice. There's actually, and she's like way up there, like, and I'm like, coming from her, that's really nice to know, you know? So.
Yeah, that's cool. I think it's refreshing for anyone coming from that side of it, where you're just dealing with people that want something from you. I think that's the differential, is that you walk into the room because you want them to like you. You're walking in wanting something from them rather than walking in thinking, what can I do for you? Like, I wish I knew that back then. I wish I did, because instead, I feel like every networking experience I've had now is more like, this is what I do. How can I help? How can I serve you in your business? And how can I help you? Because I guess I didn't value myself enough at the time. I didn't see myself as an asset. And people walk in the room like that thinking like, well, I need this. You don't need this. You have the pool of everyone, so you don't need me. And we're told that as actors, that we're disposable. And I think that's really sad. And I don't think that's true, because people aren't disposable in any case. I think that it's such a great find when they meet someone like Yelpy, who's just a normal, authentic human being. That makes you indisposable. Okay, well, let's move on to our bigger topic of the evening, comparison. We're kind of talking about it already. The idea of comparing, yourself as an artist to fill in the blank, another artist, the rest of the world, these big issues. It's very much it's a rabbit hole a little bit, isn't it?
Yes.
Kyle, were you gonna?
Yeah, I think, this is super heavy, but I truly believe it. I think the moment that you start to compare yourself, one, you lose. You're on nobody else's journey. I think we can all agree with that. But I think it really comes down to, we as human beings and as artists owe everybody else to do our art and to be who we are. We're doing a disservice to other people and ourselves by not just staying on our path and doing what we're doing and really being true to ourselves. Everybody is so unique, and I think the dark voice so yeah, I think I think that we really do owe it to whoever we're going to touch with our art, to just be who we are. I think that's probably the greatest gift that any of us could kind of live. And
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I live by the motto, you are good enough. And
It's a great
truly
motto.
are good enough.
You are good enough.
Honestly, in this world, there's a couple of truths that are universal. We will all die, and that there's only one of us. You are uniquely who you are, and no one can ever become you. And to compare yourself to something that's not you, you're comparing apples to oranges. That's what you're doing when you compare yourself to anybody. You know? And so there's some quotes that I live by, and they basically go, the basic principle of them are, when it is not your job to judge your own art, you are doing the world a disservice by not putting out what's inside of you.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you don't do it, it'll never exist, ever, in reality, ever.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times the comparison comes in, I'm not good enough. And that stops and hinders us moving forward and putting out who we are. That's either singing or drawing or dancing or whatever you do. And what that's doing, it's disservicing the world.
Yeah.
And you are taking away from the universe.
Yeah, it's I always say, like, don't be the best, be yourself. You know what I mean? Because there's no such thing as being the best. It doesn't exist.
Doesn't exist.
Like, it's totally subjective, and you will never be the best if that's all you're chasing.
Yes. Oh, wow. That's a good one.
It is hard, though, in social media now, the age that we're in, to not constantly be comparing ourselves.
Oh yeah, people got shit. That's the whole going back to legacy, and you see somebody who all of a sudden has something, and you're like, well, how the fuck did they get that?
Yeah.
I've been working my ass off to a point, and I'm not even near there.
Yeah, that's why you want to do this.
But that's also why you don't want to set these pedestal goals. It's not about that end, like Yelpy was saying, it's not about that end product. It's about the journey. It's about you've got to love what you're doing while you're doing it. Because if you don't love what you're doing while you're doing it, that end goal is not going to feel the way you want it to feel anyway. And you probably won't ever get there, because you're going to give up. It's that thing again that will not sustain itself.
Even if you do, what then?
Well,
Yeah.
exactly. Then what?
What
And
are
then
you
you're
gonna
like,
do when you get there then?
you'll be miserable
Right.
getting there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is not easy. This is something I struggled with for a very long time. And it's not easy, and it's continuing. It's
Yeah.
always there. It's always in your face. You're always comparing yourself. You'll always compare yourself. The thing is to be conscious of knowing that it doesn't matter how I feel doing this. I need to get it out or I'm doing a disservice. It doesn't matter how I feel. If I might hate it, I might be going through it and hating this shit, but that comes from a lot of times comparison, and that's something that's going to stop you and always going to be there getting through any process. You just have to focus in, finish it up. And for those people who do struggle with this, for me, what I do when I start to feel the doubt and feel that I'm not good enough, I just stop for a second and I go and I tell myself, it doesn't matter what you think of who you are. You just need to get this done, because I can judge myself all I want, but what does that matter? What does it matter to anybody? Nobody cares what you think of yourself, in those moments. That's just you getting in your own way, because it's easier to quit than it is to move forward.
Yes. I like that perspective. Sorry, go ahead, Kyle.
I also heard somebody say something that kind of really flipped my view. Somebody said, when you start to get those voices and saying like, you suck, what you did just sucks right now. The determining factor of success is the people who can push past that voice the fastest. If you can just push past that voice and be like, okay, well, how can I make it better? And really try not to judge yourself and really get there faster, because this other stuff is really not going to do anything. Just get if you can get past that point, and man, does it change. It changed things for me.
It'll always be there. It'll always be there. It's not like a one-off thing.
I must be really, I don't know. I
must be super confident. I never compare myself. I'm Yelpy.
I honestly, if I'm being 100% honest, I never have that voice where I just don't. I just don't care about that stuff. I don't care if it sounds shit. I just don't care. I never have, never will.
Yelpy's that selfish.
Yeah, maybe.
Well, yeah, selfish in the good way. It's not a negative selfish.
I'm kidding.
Because when I hear people say, "Oh yeah, when you have that voice," I go, "No,
I don't.
I don't know."
Maybe you're so good at shutting it off, you don't even hear it. Maybe
some people are. Yeah, I mean, that's beautiful. I wish I was that good at shutting it off.
I will say that you can. You can. I mean, yeah, we can all get better. I have to say, it's almost gone. I mean, it was the loudest voice in my head when I was young for years and years and years. It was the only voice I heard. And it's not the only voice I heard, but it was fucking loud. And I was super, super shy as a result of it. I didn't think, I had all these deserving issues because of it. Like all this stuff of what I was capable of or not capable of, or it's so bizarre looking back on how guilty I was as a child for no freaking reason other than it's a testament to how strong those voices can be. And now it's like, it's not even there. It's really cool. Does that mean
become Yelpy?
I know.
Listen, become Yelpy.
Find the Yelpy in you.
Find your Yelpy.
Anybody, if
Yelpy
you're struggling with this, you need to find the Yelpy in you. And say, I don't even see it there.
Yeah.
I don't even know it's there. Fuck it.
Find the Yelpy in you. But okay.
That's what I'm gonna say. Anytime I get stuck, I'm just gonna be like,
what would Yelpy do?
What would
Yelpy do?
Yelpy doesn't give a
Find
shit.
the Yelpy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like a honey badger.
Don't know. I will say though, when people when people give you criticism, like my mom, for example, she's my biggest critic. She says something about a song that you wrote. I will say, I'll listen to it and I'll go, and I'll think about what they said, because obviously the things that people say, there's stuff that people say just to say stuff and you disregard that. But then there's stuff people say and you kind of go, if you're being honest with yourself, you're going to go, they're actually right about that. And a lot of the time, yeah, I wouldn't have thought of that. So I would, you know, I would. They're the only negative things where I would I take them as on board, and I would, you know, go back and go, okay, actually no, actually I like what they said, and you know, change something, maybe a song or whatever it is. But and maybe it's to my own detriment that I'm not able to do that myself a lot of the time, you know.
No, you do you, boo-boo.
Yeah, art is a community. Like honestly, like it does. You know, you get it done, and you allow the people around you who you care about to then help you finish the process. And that's, I mean, once again, that's another hard step, is to get something done and just put it out there. You don't have to put it out to the public, but just showing somebody and being able to receive what they're saying. And like you said, some people do just talk just to be talking. But you know, there are people out there that, you know, you trust and you know that they're gonna give it.
There's always a truth in everything.
There's always a truth.
Yeah, even if you don't agree with it. And I will say as well, I don't know, like when you guys, if you write songs or whatever, but like if you write a song, like a song is the weirdest thing. It's almost like this thing that you don't write a song in so much as it just comes from nowhere and just comes through you and becomes a thing. So when somebody says, oh, you know, sometimes I'll hear someone say, oh, you know, this thing repeats too much, or maybe this chorus isn't catchy enough. But then, maybe I'll agree with them, but then I look at it and go, yeah, but that's what the song is. And I can't, that's what it needs to be. And it could be better if I change it, but then it's not the song.
It's not the song.
So you have to balance that with.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Dude, first thing I say is, listen, we're talking about this. Yeah, you can come in and look at this and give me ideas for something else, but I'm doing this, not whatever the fuck else is happening.
Yeah. And that's an epidemic for sure.
And remember
that's
that.
Another question.
Yeah, well, and remember that, you know, so one person's, you know, what one person thinks is negative is something that somebody else thinks is positive, and it's always that way. So, like, just because that one person doesn't latch on to that particular thing, you'll find, and I found this my whole life, like, I found, like, half people will like this one song that the radio hated, and that will be their, like, album song. That'll be the song that they always talk about. And then this song will get popular on the radio, you know, all these people like it, but all these people don't like it. It's the weirdest things. There's always a yin and a yang. There's always, like, people who will hate, and then people will like. So you can't keep changing yourself. You just got to be honest with yourself and take in that information. And if you agree with it, then maybe you could, you know.
Right. If it's shining light on something that you're like, oh
that you were kind of thinking anyway, you know, that kind of way.
Yeah, maybe I was trying to figure this part out, and someone, you know, was like, oh, only if this, and you're like, oh, okay. But, like, you know, I like that explanation of the song, because when I write poetry, it's the only thing I will not edit. If whatever comes out the first time is what it is. I don't care if it doesn't rhyme. I don't care if it sounds weird at the end, or if, like, I don't edit it. It just is what it is. And
it is. It's a thing. It's a.
It's a muse. That's what a muse is. That process of you know, a muse coming in. That is what that is. And then you follow it and let it be in existence. Like Lloyd said, you've got to let it live. You've got to let it live.
And that's why, you know, when people ask you that question, like, which I get asked all the bloody time, especially when you just release a new song, oh, you know, how do you go about writing songs? I feel like saying, like, I don't write songs. You know, they write themselves. I'm like a conduit, like, you know, and that's what it feels like, you know.
Yeah. Writing Dimension was like that for me when I was writing my podcast. It was totally, I just sat around and waited for the characters to tell me what they wanted to happen. And I remember when one of them had to get killed, and I was, like, so upset about it. And I was like, man, really? That's what's supposed to happen? And they're like, yeah, that's what's supposed to happen. And I was like, God damn it. And I put off writing it till the last minute because I didn't want him to die. But he died. Because that's what he said happened next. And that's how it worked. And it's so funny. I remember that. And I remember, like, fighting with it. And it was like, nope, the muse says this is what happens.
That's hilarious.
I've got to listen to it.
Listen.
it told the story for me. I mean, going back in and trying to re-edit this story is really interesting because it's, I had to re-find something new, a new muse to tell me what to do in something that was already created in this beautiful way by following the muse. It's been a really interesting experience. If you could play with any toy from your childhood now as an adult, which one would it be?
Optimus Prime.
Why?
You answered that so quick.
So quick. He probably
So
has
quick.
it on his desk.
Is it under the table? Yelpy, do you?
Just
I'll
look at
tell
it.
I'll tell you what, when I was younger, like one of my friends, Dave, back in Ireland, he's the guy who makes all the swords for Game of Thrones and all that. He collects Star Wars things, so he has a whole room in his house. He's like a child. There's a whole room in his house, and he's got Star Wars, like really old Star Wars figures, shit hanging from the ceiling and all that. I remember one time, I loved Transformers when I was a kid. Oh, I loved it. And I had loads of Transformers. And then when I came home, my 21st birthday, my mom gave them all away. I was devastated.
Man.
So he thought, do you know what? I'm going to get Yelpy a Transform. No, he wanted me to join him in his collection kind of addiction. And he wanted me to collect Transformers. So he started me off and got me an Optimus Prime and a Galvatron, which was the Decepticon bad guy at the time. And so he got me those two, and I was supposed to go get more. But I still only have those two, and they're at home.
That is fantastic.
Kyle?
Can it be something that I didn't own, but I've always wanted to own?
Yes.
Okay. The rich kids on the block had those. Remember those Power Wheels that were like a legit car?
Yeah.
I would kill to go and sit in a Power Wheel. My ass couldn't fit in it, nor my legs. I would just love to just like go down the road being like,
That'd be so. I want to do that too.
Okay, bucket list, you guys. Special off-road episode. We go find some kid with Power Wheels,
get off your Power Wheel, asshole.
and the four of us race.
Yeah. And then somebody has to stay with the little kid just in case he goes tell his mama.
Yeah.
And then you know
I'll
that
watch
mom
his little ass.
Like a mild theft auto. Like just a
tiny auto,
tiny auto theft.
Just pick a boy kid. He won't tell people a girl robbed his.
That's good.
That's the truth.
Stole my.
Yeah.
Okay, Lloyd, what's yours?
I would go with my Macho Man and Hulk Hogan wrestling buddies.
Macho Man
stuffed
Randy
animal.
Savage, yeah.
Now, Hulk Hogan has recently destroyed me inside. He was my favorite wrestler and athlete of all time. But, you know, things change. So now I would go with an Undertaker, Macho Man Randy Savage wrestling buddy.
Do you want to hear my wrestling trivia? So
Yes.
I used to watch wrestling when I was younger. The Hulk Hogan era. And
Used to my ass.
I know I
know you
like,
still watch it? Shut up.
The Ultimate Warrior. You know when it was good.
Uh-huh.
But my friend who used to watch it with me then became the Hulk Hogan, and he is Seamus O'Shaughnessy, that guy.
Oh, it's Seamus!
That's my friend in my school. Friend.
Amazing.
I like Seamus.
I was talking to him on Facebook because I didn't know for years after. I was like, Steve,
Ireland must be small.
shit.
You
Not
know
supposed
everybody is Irish, don't you? You know Seamus. You know the Game of Thrones guy. You know Colin
And we
Farrell.
all
You
went
know
to the
Colin
same-
Farrell?
We all went to the same school. We all went to the same school, and there was
Like
only
2 schools?
30 people in our class.
It's pretty
Population in
populated,
Ireland.
right? Like,
Everybody you know.
Oh yeah, it was like I don't know, 5 million.
Wow, I feel like I'll stereotype Irish people now, but now I've got a like legit reason. Like, oh, you know Yelpy? He's
Yeah,
from
he's Irish. He's Irish.
Right.
You guys all know each other, right?
Yeah.
Well, I tell you about Seamus O'Shaughnessy, right? His real name I won't say, but when he was younger, he used to get bullied all the time, and he was really big. But he was kind of, well, at the time he was like a little gullible, I guess was the word to use. But I remember one time, him, and this other guy who we just used to take the piss the whole time. He was getting bullied one time. We were sitting beside him, and he just turns around to me and the other guy, and he goes, "What will I do?" And me and Me and the other guy goes, just beat him up, Steve, you know? And then he just jumps on this guy and just goes, "Rah, rah, rah." Just
Yeah.
destroyed him, and we had to drag him off. And then I saw him on Jay Leno, and he was talking about being bullied, and then I just got flashbacks. He was bullied, and he was
Aw.
huge.
Oh,
Like, and I was
man.
tiny, and I didn't get bullied.
Yeah, because they're so nice. You know, when you're a child and you're that big, you're like really nice until somebody pushes you over the edge.
Yeah, he just snapped that one time. He just
Yeah. Hey, I bet they didn't mess with him again. I bet you that much.
and he was just rah, 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 rah. I'll never forget.
Christina, what's your toy?
It's a toss-up between Shira.
Oh, I love Shira.
She's
So
badass.
hot.
Nice.
She's so hot. I was always jealous of my girlfriend who had like all of the Shira toys. I only had like 2. I had Shira, and then I had she had like butterfly wings. It was this other character that had butterfly wings. I thought that was so cool. So I had her. She was pretty cool. But I also loved strawberry shortcake. And
Was
I
it
know,
the
it's
smelly
so-
one? Was it
yeah. Oh, they all smell. Everything
Smelled
smells.
amazing.
Oh, it smelled amazing. And I loved it. I just loved it. So anything that smells like that just takes me right back to that 5-year-old self playing with strawberry shortcake.
That
and
smell
I
of
love-
like plastic and fake artificial
Yes!
strawberries.
It's the best.
It does. It takes you right back. thinking about
Right back.
what we had
Oh
there.
my God. I had the little baby strawberry shortcake that would blow strawberry kisses, and you just press her tummy and she would blow strawberry plastic kisses.
What?
Strawberry
Yes.
kisses forever.
We did it, guys. We made a podcast.
Woo!
Nailed it.
Please like us on iTunes, throw us up some stars, throw us up some reviews, and make us famous.
Shira. Do, 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 do.